G'day! In today's video I'm going to be replacing a display and frame on a Samsung Galaxy S22, and this one here has suffered a very heavy hit in the corner or in the middle, and I'm going to proceed to get that open and swap it over with this brand new one. Now it is a slightly different shade and actually it doesn't include the buttons, so this will require a bit more than initially expected. So to begin with, I've been heating that up at 75 degrees. Now I'm going to use a thin metal pry tool to get it out. So this has been sitting on here for about 10 minutes, which has made it fairly tacky. And with the isopropyl I just sprayed on my blade, I should be able to get in there reasonably easily. Continue down here. And this is extremely hot to the touch at 75 degrees. Go. So the adhesive didn't want to go with the frame. Different adhesive compared to previous years, or at least it certainly seems to be. Go. With a bit of luck I can line most of this back up. Not quite the same over here. So we'll fix that up a bit later. Now I want to get into here. So it does look to be a little bit more complicated than earlier models. We'll start up the top. Hopefully the screws want to leave. Typically in Samsung fashion they don't, and they would like to stay in there. Turn my heat pad down to 60 degrees as it is frying my fingertips. So far these Phillips head screws have all been of the same length. And that one does seem to be shorter here. Now I'm focusing on the top half just so I can get to the battery to disconnect it. So I'll put that there for now. I'll use some tweezers to lift this up. Lift this up too. It does feel like it's being held down. There we go. One connector here. Let's lift it up. There we go. Get him out of the way. Disconnect. 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 So I'm just sliding my fingernail under there and lifting upwards. It's disconnecting those connectors. Not seeing any screws holding down the main board, so I'm just going to try and lift the main board up. Wiggle back. Front facing camera. Disconnect that. And move the board up and out of the way. We will have to swap over the front facing camera and I believe maybe the earpiece speaker. And next up, we'll start down the bottom here. I will leave the front facing camera and earpiece speaker in. up here. 3 screws along the bottom here to disconnect. 1, 2, and 3. Now I need to remove the SIM card tray here, like so. And should be able to lift this up from there, like so. And disconnect the screen flex connector here. Go. So I'll move these out of the way for now. And next up, I want to see how these come out. We'll have to break the adhesive on the front-facing camera to be able to get that out. Should be able to use that with my tweezers. Or do that with my tweezers. My heat pad is currently off. I better turn that back on. And in theory, I should be able to lift it up and out. It seems to be going now. Nope. Very stubborn camera. No, earpiece speaker. That certainly might help. Completely missed it. 1 screw right here. Good job, me. Okay, 1 loud earpiece speaker removed. Now if I pry along here, just to break that adhesive. Along here too. Okay, that should be enough to lift out the camera. Maybe a little bit more. On this side once more. There we go. And we'll leave that bit attached to it, just because that's going to make filling the gap on the new spot a bit easier. Now, next up, take out the battery. I'm going to cheat and use some isopropyl. This is going to make lifting it out a lot easier. Do not try and bend your battery. This is going to make it a lot easier than at home. And if I try and use a plastic pry tool, that's lifting up for me. There we go. 1 battery removed. Next up, we also have to swap over the buttons, which seems to be a bit of a first. Just pulling up the black plastic that's there. Now with these removed, just better go to the buttons. And I think that is push out. So we'll give that a shot on the power button. One button. trying to leave. Yeah, my tweezers definitely aren't liking getting this one out. Okay. So the orientation the same way around, should be able to push them back in. This frame on this one is black and the other one seemed to be blue. Okay. Buttons in. I'm assuming this is just going to slide in. They're all clicking. This bit does want to push down. Okay, so where I'm going to work on to next will be the front-facing camera. We use some B7000 frame adhesive, and I'm going to put that around the perimeter. Go, and that should be able to drop into position. Like so. Flip it over. Should be looking pretty alright. Next up, earpiece speaker. Screws still attached. Push it up and in. I'll need to take that screw out. There we go. Screw it in, push down, go. Next up I'm going to swap that battery in. Should be able to take out the tape here. Should be able to drop him in. Lift that up, down, there we go. Put the main board back in as well. That one, connect home button or power buttons, there, in, cool. Next up this bottom half, I should just slide in down the bottom here, angle it 45 and then push down, 3 screws back in from there, 1, 2, and lastly 3. Next up is reconnecting this cable. It should just line up over the top. Should be able to wiggle it around just slightly and push down to click. Go. Next up, loudspeaker over the top. Line up and push and click into position. Like so. Next up, screws back in. And now we're nearing the home stretch. So most of the hard stuff's done. Now we're up to the slightly easier stuff. And all these screws seem to be of the same length. Go. SIM tray back in. SIM was dropped in without a SIM, so that's fine. Push in. Upon closer inspection, the SIM tray almost looks the same colour as the frame. Line this up, push down. So the other connector, 1, 2, and the screen connector. Tend to leave the battery until last. It's always best to have no power at all when connecting the display. There we go. Next up is this one, which looks to line up. Where are we? Yeah. So it looks like the battery will need to be connected first. Battery. Pesky home button. There. Go. And now bulk loader screws to go back in. Do also have this one, which looks like it needs to go in first. I'm pushing it upwards towards the top of the phone as I'm pushing it down. Now the rest of these screws, the only one we have to really be concerned of is this little one right here, which looked to have gone . Right, will that power? Yes. There we go. One screen and frame replaced.